Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Thor-related video. Today, I am going to talk about some of my favorite fights Thor has gotten himself into in the comic book realm. Now, I am aware that Thor has had some pretty good fights on the big screen, but we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about his fights in the comics. Now, Thor has been a major part of the realm of comics since, especially the more specific, the Marvel Comics version. More so since the Silver Age of comics, ever since he made his first full appearance in Journey into Mystery number 83 back in June 5th, 1962, and was created by Stan Lee, his brother Larry, and the legendary artist himself, Jack Kirby. Now, Thor is without debate, without argument for me, one of the most powerful superheroes in all of comics and fiction. Due to the fact that he's not just an Asgardian, he's also part Elder God. Um, Making him a Asgardian Elder God hybrid, making his abilities far more developed than the majority of his race. Thor, as of right now, is the most powerful Asgardian, considering the fact that his father Odin is currently deceased at the moment, and that Thor has really now has regained the Odin Force, but has gained full access to the Odin Force by his late father Odin just before his death. Excuse me, at the hands of the God of Hammers during the Shaken Throne story arc. But anyway, Thor has been a part of so many big and iconic fights over the course of his career. I'm going to talk about some of them that really stood out to my mind the most. The first fight I will talk about of Thor will be his fight versus the Cain Marko, aka the Unstoppable Juggernaut, in the Mighty Thor Volume 1, issue 429, that came out on Christmas Day of 1990, was written by the legendary Tom DeFalco and drawn by Ron Frenz. This is a really damn good fight between two powerhouse characters. This is a fight where Thor showcased that he's not only a powerhouse in terms of muscle, but he's also a warrior born. He is a war god. He knows war like the back of his hand. He is a war god. He is a warrior. He fought in the art of war for hundreds of years, and he's a really good strategist and tactician, which in this fight with Juggernaut that I'm mentioning here proves it. I mean, he uses his hammer. Once he discovers that Juggernaut's powers are mystical in nature, he uses Mjolnir to negate Kane's mystical defenses, or he can engage one-on-one in Juggernaut in hand-to-hand combat, in which Thor, for the most part, manages to best Juggernaut, even though Juggernaut has been able to prove that he is comparable to Thor in raw strength and striking power. Thor ends up defeating Juggernaut by using Mjolnir to send him far, far away to the depths of outer space on an asteroid, so you don't harm him or anybody else. It's a really good fight. I think the fight is uploaded, it's still on the YouTube. If you haven't seen the fight or even read the comic, I highly recommend you check it out on YouTube. It's a really damn good fight. It's one of the best fights Thor has ever got into, in my opinion. And then we're moving on to the next. Now, everyone pretty much knows Thor's rivalry with the Incredible Hulk. Not just from the big screen, but of course from television and of course in the comic books. Thor and the Hulk have clashed countless times over the years, and mostly to a standstill, which is a testament to both Thor's and the Hulk's immense strength, stamina, and durability in their own right. But I'm going to talk to you properly. My favorite fight between the two, and it took place in the Incredible Hulk Volume 1, issue number 440, way back in the 1990s, where a Berserk Thor a Berserk Thor and a Berserk Hulk just go at it on a deserted island. Okay? Thor and the Hulk have matched each other in strength countless times over the years, and this is no exception. This time, Thor is still able to match the Hulk in raw strength while being amped by his warrior's madness, which is a Berserker Rage state that increases Thor's godlike strength and stamina tenfold, but also decreases his intelligence and greatly affects his intelligence, where he's unable to distinguish friend from foe. This is a fight where neither one of these two legendary iconic powers gained the definitive advantage over the other. People regard this as a true masterpiece written by the legend himself, Peter David, who happens to be one of my favorite writers in comics. And this is a great fight between these two characters. I mean, if the fight has been uploaded on YouTube, if you want to check it out, be my guest. Um, Next up on the list is Thor versus Hercules during the Blood Oath storyline. This is where Thor has fought Hercules without Mjolnir. And this is where Thor and Hercules beat each other to a bloody pulp in hand-to-hand combat. Although this is where Thor reveals that while he and Hercules are equal in raw physical strength, Hercules is his better when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. And Thor managed to best Hercules by summoning a lightning bolt. But the fight was still pretty damn good between those two legendary and iconic godlike beings. Next up on the list is Thor versus Superman in the legendary and iconic DC Marvel crossover from 2003, JLA/Avengers. Now, Thor versus Superman has been one of those really fun and interesting fantasy fight debates that people have been talked about for years. Well, in 2003, Marvel and DC decided to make that fight into a reality when they gave the keys to two legends, Kurt Busiek and the legendary artist that is now currently deceased, unfortunately, and George Perez. This fight, if you haven't seen the fight, I think it's still on YouTube as well. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. Anyways, Thor and Superman, this is the first and so far only time in mainstream comic continuity for both of these legendary iconic comic book companies where Thor and Superman have clashed. I'm not going to spoil who won the fight. I'll leave that up to you guys to find that out on your own. What I will say is this: the fight between Thor and Superman is excellent. It really is a testament to both their strength, stamina, durability, um, and their vulnerability, as well as their fighting prowess. I mean, Superman's a highly experienced fighter himself, as well as Thor, and it was a really damn good fight. I will say this though: at the end of the fight, Superman does say that Thor gave him one of the toughest fights of his career. So that's saying something. Um, Now I could. Um, so I'm having some nerds. Mm. Of course, Thor has also clashed with the Silver Surfer countless times. He's also clashed with Galactus. He's clashed with the man Titan himself, Thanos. I think there was a fight. I forgot which issue, what the storyline was, but it was written by Dan Jurgens, who, in my opinion, is a fantastic writer, where he pits Thor against Mangog and Thanos, who's a really powerful clone of Thanos. And Thor, while being amped himself, beats them both. That's pretty. Mangog is crazy powerful. He is like a billion times more powerful than Thor. And Thor managed to beat him by shoving Mjolnir, excuse me, his Mjolnir would have sounded dirty. Mjolnir down his throat and says drink and shoots a boatload of anti-force energy into his body, defeating Mangog, which is crazy as hell. And um Trying to think who else. Who else from the comic books? Thor has clashed with at an epic scale. Hmm. Before I get off. Hmm. Hmm. Gore versus the three Thors. I heard that was a great fight, but I have yet to check it out myself. But I heard that was a great fight. I mean, anytime Thor clashed with the Destroyer armor, that shit was epic. Um, Thor versus Kalark, aka Gladiator, that was epic. Um, you know, thank you, Boomtown. Um, trying to think. What are the fights with Thor that I really enjoyed in the comic books? Oh, I knew someone was gonna bring this up. Thor versus Sentry. I remember their fight from the Siege event. That shit was crazy. That was when Sentry was being controlled by the Void, and Thor had to put him down. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That shit was pretty damn crazy. That shit was pretty damn crazy, man. I'm glad someone brought that up. I was actually gonna get to that fight, but it took me a while to get to it. But yeah, Thor versus Sentry during the Siege event was fucking crazy. This was like the part where Sentry kills Loki, and this was where Sentry literally picks up Ares. Now, keep in mind, Ares in the Marvel Comics franchise nowhere near as powerful, nor as badass as the Ares we all know and love from the DC Comics franchise. But the fact that Sentry picked him up and ripped him in half like a phone book, that's crazy. Um, but yeah, that fight between Thor and Sentry during Siege was crazy. Could Thor defeat an Eternal? Well, Thor has actually clashed with Icarus. He's actually clashed with Gilgamesh. You know, who also at the time went by the alias of the Forgotten One. So yeah, Thor has been able to take him on. I think Thor beat Gilgamesh. I'm not entirely sure, but Thor's a very strong character. So yes, unless you're talking about a Celestial. I remember one time before, this was back in the 80s and the early 90s. It took almost everything Thor had to take a Celestial down. Like no bullshit. Did you see the fight between Thor, Thanos, and Duck for the Black Infinity Stone? I think it came out like a year. No, I did not. I've yet to check that out. But Ultraman. Okay. Hello, Richard Todd. But yeah, this was one of my trying to think here. Um, Who do you want to see Thor fight? Now, this is a good question. Who do you want to see Thor fight the most in the live action? Well, I like to see him fight Hercules and Beta Ray, but even though they're heroes, I'd still like to see how that version of Thor measures up to those characters because Beta Ray Bill is one of my favorite characters, and Hercules is one of my favorite characters. But yeah, that yeah, that's, yeah. Like there's a lot of characters I like to see Thor go up against in live action, but um, well, he's definitely gonna fight Hercules in the upcoming Thor movie, which I hope is a bit more serious. I would like to see him, maybe spar a little bit with Beta Ray Bill, who's one of my favorite characters in Thor's universe. Um, yes, I have yet to play God of War Ragnarok. I will do that in some time. Um, but I heard the God of War depiction of Thor was pretty damn good. I heard, obviously the Thor from God of War, from the God of War franchise, is more faithful to the mythology than the comic book versions, especially the Marvel version. But I heard that was good. Um, but how do you think they'll spin Thor's story in the MCU to make the next movie less goofy and more serious? With good writing, good source material, um, retcon or reboot some shit. I mean, that's all I can think of right now, Marcelo. Thor's fights in the game are amazing. That's what I heard too. Heard the Ragnarok. I just beat God of War 4, my PlayStation 4. That game is freaking incredible. The God of War franchise in general is incredible. I mean, and yeah, I think so too, Marcelo. I think Hercules finding Thor on Earth and attacking New Asgard would be a great way to get in a rage Thor. Yes, but I don't. The thing is, I'm still very surprised that they did not include Thor's Warriors Madness mode in the MCU because that's been a part of Thor's character for a very long time in the comic books. I mean, we've seen Thor get angry, but we haven't seen Thor become like where he's like beating the shit, where he's fighting everybody. You know what I'm saying? Also, on a little off topic, Joey Varner just announced his retirement. He portrayed in the Captain. He's a very, he's a, he's an excellent. No, but I've actually. Did I read the comic run from that Thor that's in the background right now? Um, um, no, but I watched clips of. I watched. I didn't necessarily read it, but I watched videos of it on Variant Comics, YouTube channel. Hey Dano, what's up, man? Um, guys, I'm gonna end the stream right here. Sorry, Dana, if you just caught it in time. You just caught up with it. It's great talking with you guys. Peace out.